Hey everyone, welcome back for our Journey with Jesus devotion. Today we're reading from Matthew chapter 11, and we are reintroduced to someone that we've already seen in our time together. Remember in Matthew chapter 3, we met John the Baptist, someone we said that in his time was standing out, speaking up, and staying humble. Well, in the next chapter, Matthew 4, we read that John was arrested. And in Matthew 14, we're going to learn more about his arrest and his death. But today in Matthew 11, John, having been in prison from Matthew 4 until this present reading, sends a message to Jesus through a disciple with a question. And here's his question. Jesus, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else? Now that's amazing. When we first meet John, he is so full of faith and boldness and conviction, and now, having been in prison all of this time, without question, he has some questions. He has some doubt and uncertainty. Jesus, are you sure you are the Messiah? Because I've been telling everyone you are who you say you are, and now I'm just wondering if I've gotten a little bit carried away. Are you sure that you are the one to come, or should we expect someone else? And it's in a tough situation that John poses this question, because John was not in prison for doing anything wrong. He was actually in prison for doing something right. It wasn't that John was disobedient. He was actually obedient to what God would have him do, and it lands him in prison. And so John has some questions. Are you sure about this? John feels the weight of what's going on. He's got some unmet expectations of how he thought his obedience to God was going to look in his life. And ultimately, John can only see this one thing in front of him. He doesn't see the big picture of everything. And so these questions inevitably arise out of all of that. But John does what is commendable in his situation for us to consider today, that whenever we, like John, have doubts and questions and uncertainty, what's the best thing we can do? We can bring those things to Jesus openly, honestly, before Him, acknowledging that we have some things we're not sure about. We need His help to better understand some things. And trusting Him when we can't always understand exactly what's going on. This text is appropriate for the Saturday between Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. And here's why. Because I can't help but believe the disciples of Jesus, like John in Matthew 11, had their own doubts and their own questions. Just the day before, they had watched Jesus brutally murdered on a sinner's cross. It blew up every expectation they had of an earthly kingdom coming in which they would rule and reign here in the foreseeable future. They all, as Jesus' disciples, had forsaken Him. He had fallen short of their expectations. They are now fearful for their very lives on this Saturday. They no doubt have their questions and uncertainties. But what's important for John in our reading today, what's important for the disciples as they're awaiting Resurrection Sunday, what's important for us as we journey through this life with our doubts and our questions and our fears, we must know by faith that there is an all-seeing, all-knowing, ever-present God at work, that He sees what I do not see. He understands in ways that I don't understand. He works in a greater way than I can work, seeing time and all of eternity from beginning to end. And there's no doubt we have days like John. We have days like these disciples in this Saturday of this groaning and waiting and pressure and pain, not knowing what the future holds. But beloved, hang on. Resurrection Sunday is coming. And until then, we may not know what tomorrow holds, but we know who holds tomorrow, and we trust Him with it. It's Saturday, but Resurrection Sunday is coming.